either, gonna have to wait a
Okay.
little bit. I don't know, do we know if anyone's coming, or?
One right now.
Yes,
Okay.
he did say he was coming.
Yeah, a quorum would be 4, so as soon as you have 4 people, you can start the meeting.
Okay. Yep.
We're gonna have to wait too.
I have Bell Harbor Marina. We do boat storage and boat rental.
Right, right.
All
I know,
that stuff.
I remember. When it didn't fill. That one.
Yeah.
See what time. Okay. Try to keep it. Right by.
Yeah. Yeah. My first move had the land. Yeah. We're having the restaurant. Bell Harbor.
What on
We're just west of, like,
Okay.
5 from, oh,
I'm thinking.
it is.
The one. Okay, but- Better. Still go by the.
That's sort of,
They don't.
they built all that.
Well, fine.
Pretty good on a little bit. Okay. It's weird. Yeah. But they're not full out. People that have smaller boats. That northern mines that I coatings of summer.
Oh, God. Oh, windy.
Yeah.
You won't know.
Yeah. Yeah, the water's. We were out a week. So,
I'm hoping that. Absolutely.
all right, we have a quorum now. I will call the October 21st regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board to order. And could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Hasse? Mr. Seaman?
Here.
Mr. Strovopoulos?
Here.
Mr. Vesey?
Here.
Ms. McCumber? Ms. Vigil? Ms. Vigil?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. The second item on our agenda is the approval of the meetings from last month. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 16th, 2018.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Ms. Vigil?
Yes.
Mr. Vesey?
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes. All right, and if we could have the quasi judicial announcement, please.
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Planning and Zoning Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that's already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the code and ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates the applicant has met the criteria established in the code of ordinances, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the code of ordinances, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communication or conflicts of interest? If I could have everyone that will be speaking tonight, if they could please stand and raise their right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So sworn.
All right, our next item is number 4, application 19-111. It's a conditional use approval allowing establishment of game room in conjunction with an existing restaurant at 40737 US Highway 19 North. Does the staff have a report?
Yes, this is a request, again, for establishment of a game room at an existing restaurant in the Highway Business District, Zoning District, Commercial General Land Use District. And the applicant is seeking to renovate a portion of an existing vacant retail space to serve as a game room for the Whiskey Wings restaurant. This is a 1,440 square foot retail space previously occupied by a food service business. It was the Cupcake place, for those of you that are familiar. It's behind the current Whiskey Wings, so what the applicant wants to do is basically bust through that rear wall into this space and add a separate game room. So this project only involves interior renovations to the building. With respect to your standards for review, again, this is a use going into an existing building with interior renovations only, and is proposed to meet all building codes and other applicable codes. The city's technical review committee did review this project at their September 19th meeting and recommended approval. The city's highway business district is the commercial district along US 19, and this project is completely surrounded by commercial development within the HB district. The game room is essentially kind of an accessory, really, amenity to the restaurant. It kind of rose to the conditional use level because it's a separate space and fairly large space. So that's why this item is before you this evening. Again, it's entirely interior to the building. It's already served by the required facilities, parking, solid waste service, and other amenities on site. So it's compatible with the existing and planned uses in the area. The project is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. It is not located in the historic districts. It is not proposed on an environmentally sensitive site. And it is expected to maintain property values in the area as an expansion of a currently successful business. Again, it's already served by public facilities. There will be no need to extend new services to this project. So staff is recommending approval of Resolution 2019-33 with the following conditions: that the conditional use will expire within 1 year of approval if a building permit is not issued for the property, and the building permit shall be obtained to include all renovated and existing commercial space meeting the applicable fire codes, and to include the estimated water and sewer flows and compliance with the city's fat, soils, and grease program. Are there any questions?
With No questions, do we go to public comment, right?
We go to the applicant first if he's,
Applicant,
if the
okay,
applicant's
yeah.
here, and then next to public comment.
Is the applicant present? Then I guess he doesn't have any comments. Okay, are there any public comments on this? Seeing none, are there any board comments? In that case, do I have a motion?
I'd like to motion that application number 19-111 be approved as submitted.
I'll second that motion.
We have a roll call?
Ms. Feehill?
Yes.
Mr. Vesey?
Yes.
Mr. Seropoulos?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes. Motion carries, and that brings us to item number 5, application 18-115, a development agreement to enter into with the city of Tarpon Springs to construct a 78-room hotel at 39284 US Highway 19 North. Staff have a report?
Yes, and this project is located in the Highway Business Zoning District, Commercial Limited Land Use District. This is a proposal for a 78-room hotel of about 57 feet in height. And this will be going on the parcel where the Hampton Inn and Suites is currently located, just as to the south of that building. And basically, just as kind of a summary, a development agreement is a required instrument for this project in order to achieve the density that's proposed here. This is a temporary lodging use, and the city and the county allow a higher density for that use if an evacuation plan is implemented to ensure that guests can evacuate ahead of a storm. So that's what's being used here. That has to be memorialized in a development agreement. So that's kind of probably the main reason that we're here with the development agreement on this. With respect to review criteria, it's really just what's included in the application. There is a legal description. The proposed duration of the agreement is the earlier of the dates that would be issued certificate of occupancy or 10 years, whichever comes first. Again, the development includes 78 units, 57.3 feet in height. The floor area is about 51,905 square feet, and there are guest amenities with this hotel, including a swimming pool and meeting room. The parcel is already served by public facilities, and this hotel will use the existing curb cut that serves the parcel now from US 19. There's no reservation or dedication of land for public purpose with this project, and several development approvals must be obtained, including but may not be limited to those listed on page 3 of the staff report. This project does not necessitate any amendments to the city's comprehensive, to the future land use map or to the zoning map. And it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The development agreement will be contingent on approval of the site plan, which is the next item on your agenda. Again, I already mentioned that the applicant must submit and have approved an evacuation plan prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the building. And that condition is included in the development agreement. And there is no phasing proposed for this project. So staff is recommending approval of the development agreement between the City of Tarpon Springs and HTBVM Hospitality, which is the applicant for this project. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Hello.
Hello.
First, a clarification on how you opened it, that perhaps typically that this application wouldn't necessarily need a development agreement, but could you just repeat that part between the county and the city that triggered the need for a development agreement, the evacuation plan part?
Sure. The countywide plan, you guys are familiar with Forward Pinellas, and they implement the countywide rules and a countywide plan. That plan has something called, I think it's called temporary lodging standards, something like that. Those standards are repeated pretty much verbatim in our comprehensive plan. So they're both the same, and I've given you the sections of each. Basically, it allows you to have a higher density for temporary lodging, which is a hotel. I mean, that's very clearly defined. There's no wiggle room there on that. So this is basically transient units or hotels. The density in the HB district normally would be 30 units per acre. In this case, you can go up to 60 units per acre, which the applicant is not quite up to that level. I think it comes out to 40 something, 45. If we execute a development agreement with them that memorializes the requirement that they implement an evacuation plan. Pinellas County Emergency Management also requires this evacuation plan, and that's how the county sort of gets the cities to make sure that that's done, and the county emergency management can enforce the requirement for evacuation when those orders are given.
I understand that, thank you. It's a trigger that the county's putting in to make sure that an evacuation plan is created, their
Correct.
enforcement mechanism.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I do have another question about the application. I don't know if the timing is right at this moment, but I'm gonna make it. And it has to do with the duration of the agreement, which is found on page 3 under duration, and it says that the site plan will be in effect until it's completed and/or 10 years. The development agreement would be in effect for 10 years. And my memory says that at a previous meeting that we had perhaps openly discussed, and it hadn't gone any forward, that we weren't very excited about development agreements being issued for 10 years, and we wanted to restrict that for some pretty obvious reasons. So I was hoping that maybe that was a typo, or the fact is that it still stands at its 10 years and we haven't made any headway on reducing that. Go ahead.
Correct. There was a text amendment that did come before you some time ago, I guess last year sometime. The previous development agreement cap in the city code was 5 years. The text change was to 10 years, and the Board of Commissioners did adopt that maximum time frame text change. That was put in here, as just a matter of being the cap that's in the code now. If you have any issues with that, you can certainly express that to the board, and if you suggest a different time frame, the applicant is here and they're ready to speak. I do believe they plan to build this project right away. They're ready to go with this project. So this one's a little unusual in that the real reason for this thing is as we discussed, the density. I don't think they need 10 years, but we can let them maybe elaborate.
And thank you, and again, I don't want to take up too much time on this particular topic. It's not necessarily about this application.
Right.
And I know my memory is weak, but I am absolutely certain, and it had to do with a bit of a dust up over the new development that's almost completed now, because that had been issued a 10-year site plan agreement. And I know that there was distinct conversation in regards to reducing that substantially, and I thought there was a vote that we brought it down because we wanted them to come back in 3 to 5 years, and then we would reevaluate it at that time. The idea was we don't want to give them 10 years because things change within the community They can do nothing for 9.9 years and then decide to build. In between that period of time, we might decide that it's not a good fit for the community. And with that, I won't mention that anymore. Those are my questions.
I think if my recollection serves, I think we may have voted against that extension to 10 years, but the city board overruled us, I believe.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, I guess that brings us to the applicant. Does the applicant wish to speak? Could you approach the microphone and just state your name and address for us, please?
My name is Kiran Patel, and I'm representing HDBVM. The address would be 39284 US Highway 19 North, Tarpon Springs. As I said earlier, I really don't have anything additional to add unless there's questions or clarifications that the board is looking for.
One thing that might clarify some things for us, if you just share with us your plans from a time perspective in getting this done.
The time perspective for this project
For
is...
build out, you know.
For the build-out, I understand. The design is essentially complete, subject to the approval tonight and the board's approval of the development agreement tomorrow. I would be looking to submit building permit review as early as possible next week even, with the idea that we would go to construction immediately as soon as we got the permits.
Okay, anybody else have?
I have a quick question. Is this are you completely like remodeling the Hampton Inn that's gonna be completely a Holiday Inn now, or are you doing an additional building?
It's going to be a separate building standalone. It's going to
Okay.
be a Holiday Inn Express in addition to the existing Hampton.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, you may go back to your seat. Are there any public comments about this application? Seeing none, is there any discussion amongst the board? If not, do I have a motion?
Chairman, I'd like to motion that application 18-115 development agreement be approved as submitted.
I second that motion.
Roll call?
Ms. Vehil,
Yes.
Mr. Vesey,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Mr. Seaman.
Yes. All right, that brings us to item number 6, which is sort of the second half of this same story, I guess. This is the site plan request approval for construction of the 78-room hotel located at 39284 US Highway 19 North, application 19-75. Does the staff have further comments?
Yes, there, without going over the project again, this is the site plan application. Just to give you the numbers that are in the staff report, the Hampton Inn and Suites is an existing 84-room hotel. So this adds the additional 78 rooms with the new hotel. Again, on page 2, you have an explanation of the consistency with the comprehensive plan, given the execution of a development agreement. The facilities impacts are listed on page 3. The TRC did review this project. Their last review was on July 18th, 2019. The TRC minutes are included with your staff report with the status of each item. And staff finds that this application for site plan approval is consistent with the criteria, and staff is recommending approval of the site plan subject to several conditions you'll find on page 4. And I won't read through those, but if you have any questions on those conditions, I can answer those.
All right. Does the board have any comments or questions related to the staff's comments? All right. Does the applicant have any further comments?
Again, my name is Kiran Patel with HDBVM Hospitality, 39284 US Highway 19 North, Tarpon Springs. No additional comments, again, present in case you have any further questions or clarifications needed.
Does any of the board have further questions for Mr. Patel?
I don't have a question, but I wanted to say thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Not a problem.
All right, you may return to your seat again. Do any members of the public have any comments on this application? Seeing none, is there any discussion amongst the board? Then I would entertain a motion.
Chairman, I would like to motion
19-75.
that application 19-75 be approved as submitted.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, can we have a roll call?
Ms. Vihill?
Yes.
Mr. Vesey?
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us to item number 7, staff comments.
No staff comments this evening, thanks.
Brings us to item number 8, board comments.
I don't have any comments, but I would like to make mention of a guest that is in our audience. This is John Zimmerman. He's a neighbor, and I'm encouraging Mr. Zimmerman to join the board as a volunteer member.
All right. If there's nothing else from anybody, we're ready for adjournment. Nothing else? Okay. The October 21st regular meeting is adjourned.